The most outdated idea is to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay off debts, and invest long-term in the stock market of companies. Why save money when trillions of dollars are being printed? The gap between the top 1% and the remaining 99% is huge. It's not just about money. You need to look back and think of a bigger plan. So what do you do? Inside each of us, there's a poor person. There's still a poor person within me. There's also a middle-class person, and that middle-class person seeks security, looks for a fixed salary, and there's also a rich person. All these personas are within us, but they're not taught. We learn to go to school, get a job, and have a fixed salary. We're not taught to get rich. If you read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, my rich dad refused to pay me. He said a fixed salary was one of the worst things someone could accept in their life. He said the moment you accept a fixed salary, you become an employee. That's the mindset. My rich dad never paid me. He wasn't saying a fixed salary was bad. He said he didn't want to be a money slave. So, as an entrepreneur, if my rich dad was wrong, I'd move to another company. I didn't need a fixed salary, didn't need anyone to take care of me. If the government didn't like me, I'd move to another country because entrepreneurs are needed everywhere. Therefore, entrepreneurship isn't just about the business itself. Entrepreneurship is primarily about mindset, skills, and different rules. A small business doesn't follow the same rules as a big business. Entrepreneurship is first and foremost a matter of thought, skills, and rules. Depending on whether you're an employee or have a small business, the rules are different, the thoughts are different, the skills are different. Rich people always say, "Don't tell them, Roger. Shh, don't share what you know, keep them poor." My dad was the head of education, PhD, all that. I'd come home and ask him, "Why don't we learn about money in school?" He'd look at me and say, "Because the government doesn't let us teach that subject. The government tells us what we can teach and what we can't teach." I thought that was weird. I'd say, "But don't we go to school to learn about money?" He'd say, "No, your goal is to get a job." I'd say, "But you get a job to make money." He'd say, "No, you're just supposed to get a job." I'd argue, No, isn't the purpose of a job to make money?" He'd agree, "You're right." I'd say, "So why don't we just learn about money? We can skip the job part, right?" He'd get frustrated and say, "If you want to learn about money, why don't you ask your best friend's dad about money?" I'd ask, "Why?" "It's Mike." I'd explain. I'd ask, "Why should I ask him?" He'd say, "Because Mike's dad is an entrepreneur." I'd ask, "And you, what are you?" He'd say, "I'm an employee. I'm a government employee." I'd ask, "What's the difference?" He'd explain, "The difference is that an entrepreneur needs to understand money. Otherwise, he won't be an entrepreneur. An employee doesn't need to understand anything about money because the government will take care of that, and so will the company." So me, just a kid, was completely confused. But I went to Mike's dad's office, knocked on the door and said, "Hey, I'm here. I'm 9 years old. Teach me about money." He said, "Come in, kid." That's how the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad began. And finally, with a lot of persistence, my rich dad started teaching me about money with one condition. He would never pay me. He'd say, "The moment I pay you, you'll think like an employee." That was the lesson. Entrepreneurs work for free. And now I was 9 years old and my head was about to explode. He'd add, "You've never earned a paycheck, understand, kid?" I'd say, "I understand." He'd conclude, "Well, how do I make money?" That's what entrepreneurs figure out. I'd ask, "And how do I learn about money?" He'd say, "By playing Monopoly." So I'd work for free, pick up the Monopoly shoes, take care of the hotels and restaurants, do simple tasks. And as I grew up, I started learning about business and investments as an apprentice. He taught me about money, but the way he did it was by playing Monopoly. Finally, when I grew up, I asked, "When are you going to teach me about money?" He said, "What do you think we're doing? We're playing Monopoly." So that was how he taught me about money. He said, "What do you think we're doing?" I said, "I don't know, I'm learning about money." So he continued, "See, there's a formula for achieving great financial success, and thousands of them have been developed over time. One of the best formulas was found in the game of Monopoly, and it's still valid today. 4 greenhouses, 1 green hotel." I asked, "Just that?" He explained, "Yes. One of the best ways to accumulate considerable wealth is to apply the principles of Monopoly in real life. 4 greenhouses, 1 green hotel." I said, I understand. But what does that mean? He replied, what do you think I'm doing? I admitted, I don't know. So he took me to show me his green properties. 10 years later, when I was 19 and studying in New York, I went back to Hawaii. By this time, Rich Dad had acquired a large piece of land in the heart of Waikiki Beach. If you go to Waikiki Beach today, you'll see the luxury Regency Hotel. It was his property. Just like in the game of Monopoly, they acquired assets and grew. He kept what we call an assemblage of properties because back then Waikiki was just a small beach town with land and water. He would buy one property, then another, until over time, he put together a large property. He and the Hyatt built a giant hotel on it, and later he sold it for $800 million. That's how I learned about money from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because I knew a moment like this was coming, and we had never faced anything like this as a society before. We're living in a spectacular time, but also the most dangerous. It's a unique time with an interconnected global economy, social networks, and unprecedented challenges. I'm excited because I make more money when things fall, but I'm worried about the average person. Many people are already struggling, companies are laying off, and money isn't flowing. I'm afraid the situation will get worse. What can we do for average workers and small business owners in the next 3 months when the situation doesn't look good? People are being laid off, companies are struggling. How can we deal with this? Debt is increasing every day, and the government is printing money on a massive scale to keep the system running. Our wages are losing value, and this is a trend that will continue. We need financial education, a real financial transformation to face these challenges. Metamorphosis is the key. We need to evolve and adapt like a cat transforming into an eagle. If you're struggling financially, think of yourself as a small cat. The crisis is your cocoon. The question is how you're going to emerge from it. You can become a victim and blame others, or you can seize the situation as an opportunity for growth and transformation. This crisis could be the best thing that's ever happened to you, both financially and health-wise. We got to choose to become healthier and richer instead of wallowing in despair. The change is within us, in our mindset, attitude, and actions. For those who want to take the leap and become entrepreneurs, my message is the same one I received. I remember my last venture clearly. The journey can be challenging, but it's an amazing chance to learn and grow. Perseverance and seeking financial knowledge are key. Transform yourself from a small cat into an eagle and seize the opportunities that life offers. It was one of the most challenging and rewarding days of my life. I was in Puerto Rico, working at Xerox when my boss gave me a unique opportunity. It wasn't just a job, it was a substantial bonus, about $100,000. However, there was a significant catch. It was a tax trap. I was excited by the prospect, but also apprehensive. It was then that a colleague named John approached me and said, "You're gonna go back?" I was puzzled and asked why. He explained that I would fail. I looked at him with surprise and, using some strong words, questioned his statement, as he himself had left, failed, and returned. My response was clear. You failed and came back, but I'm gonna fail and never come back. This attitude exemplifies the difference in mindset. If you go into something thinking that if you fail, you can simply go back home to your parents, that's exactly what you'll do. However, when you commit to facing failure and not looking back, that's when you become an entrepreneur. I myself had no money back then and didn't receive a regular paycheck for years. My mom encouraged me to follow this path, believing that when you don't have a paycheck, you become more creative and resourceful. This is a test of character. The question is, will you become dishonest, a thief, or a better human being? Being an entrepreneur reveals who you are when faced with challenges. We should always think about the bigger picture. Many people only worry about what's going to happen to them, but it's important to understand that when something bad happens, something good can also come out of it. The key is to be prepared for what's coming. It's like checking the expiration date on a carton of milk at the supermarket. In the same way, we got to check the expiration date on our minds. Instead of avoiding debt, we should learn to use it intelligently. I recently refinanced a $300 million debt and reduced the interest rate from 5% to 2.5%. This gave me more money every month because my cost of money decreased. When I went back to Vietnam in 1973, my rich dad told me to learn how to invest in real estate, but he was actually talking about how to use debt and taxes to our advantage. Debt and taxes are the tools that the rich use to get richer, while the middle class and poor people are hurt by them. Many rich professionals, like doctors and lawyers, are scared of this financial approach because they don't understand it. The lack of understanding can lead to harmful financial decisions. The truth is that the rich don't just work for money. They create businesses as entrepreneurs and invest in real estate. This gives them more control over their income and taxes. As an entrepreneur and real estate investor, I can pay less taxes. When I make money as an entrepreneur, I immediately invested in real estate, getting a 4-to-1 return. I put $1 million into real estate and get a $4 million loan from the bank. That's why I like banks, although they may not be the best option for everyone. When the government prints a lot of money, inflation goes up, making wages less valuable. However, those who use debt intelligently can benefit from the situation. It's a complex balance, but understanding how to use debt is a valuable skill. Therefore, it's crucial to learn how to use debt and taxes to your advantage instead of avoiding them. The entrepreneurial mindset is the path to financial success, and a deep understanding of these principles can make all the difference in your financial journey. You see, debt and taxes make the rich richer, while taxes and fees make the poor and middle class poorer. When we follow outdated ideas, we reap outdated results. Most people still believe in the traditional idea of going to school, getting a job, working hard, saving money, getting out of debt, buying a house as an asset, and investing for the long term. But this mindset is outdated. The world changed, especially in 1971 when President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. Money became a form of tax. Education is more important than ever, but traditional educational ideas and methods are outdated. Moore's law shows that information doubles every 18 months, making it obsolete quickly. When people leave school, many become obsolete because they can't keep up. Financial institutions don't just want to hold your money because they have plenty of it. People are taking money out of banks and investing in real assets like businesses and real estate to avoid losing money due to inflation and fees. The pursuit of a secure job and the obsession with getting out of debt are outdated ideas. Instead, it's important to learn how to use debt intelligently and understand how it can be a tool to get rich. The reason the 1% is getting richer while the 99% is struggling is linked to excessive money printing, which causes inflation and high fees. However, schools don't teach about this critical topic. For a true entrepreneur, the pursuit of a high-paying job isn't the main goal. They have an opportunity-oriented mindset and understand that they can create their own financial path, regardless of the circumstances. Many people call themselves entrepreneurs without really understanding what it means to be one. The average employee mindset doesn't realize that leaving a job makes them more vulnerable to higher fees. The key is to have an entrepreneurial spirit and learn how to use debt intelligently. There are always two cities at play, the external economy and the internal economy. What you can control is your internal economy and your internal focus. True entrepreneurs have a strong internal focus and see difficulties as opportunities for growth. They become stronger, smarter, and happier no matter what happens. On the other hand, those with a weak mindset focus on what can go wrong, which usually materializes. True entrepreneurs understand that internal control is key and that difficulties are part of the path to success. People who are afraid of making mistakes, as taught in schools, often fail to grow. Spirituality teaches us that there are good and bad sides, right and wrong, high and low. Most people just want to be right and maintain a positive mindset, but reality is more complex. In my case, I wasn't considered poor by conventional standards, but I come from a family with a poverty mindset, if you know what I mean. Wealth, poverty, and the middle class are rooted in a fundamental attitude. The poverty mindset is often passed down from generation to generation and is learned in families. The same goes for the middle class mindset. Many people who are struggling financially, even if they're making money, have been conditioned by these beliefs. The traditional education system doesn't teach about money. It was designed to create employees like doctors, lawyers, and specialists, but it doesn't teach about finance, accounting, taxes, and fees. When people ask me how my rich dad learned what my poor dad, a doctor of education, didn't learn, the answer is simple. My rich dad, who was my best friend's dad, lost his father when he was 13 years old. As a result, he had to drop out of school, which turned out to be a blessing in disguise. His mentors became his guides, accountants, lawyers, bankers, and real estate agents. The real teachers are those who do what they teach every day. Unfortunately, many teachers in traditional schools don't practice what they teach. People need to find real teachers who live what they teach. Poverty starts with a mindset of fear that manifests itself in the words we use. Words become reality. When people say they can't afford something, they automatically close their minds to opportunities. Negative thinking and fear can shape the future. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, people should ask themselves, how can I afford it? And look for solutions. Questions open the mind while negative words close it. Each of us has a different financial game, just like in sports like soccer and golf, which have different rules. Finding your own financial game, which could be a business, real estate investments, or something else, is key to financial success. Each person has to figure out what works best for them. So what I say to young people is that you find your game. Until next time.